It's 4 days to the 2025 Joy News Impact Makers Awards. Good evening and welcome to Joy News Prime. We're coming to you live from our studios here at Court Nominees in Accra. We are live on DSTV, channel 421, GoTV 125, and around the world on myjoyonline.com. I'm Carlos Caloni.
For tonight, Parliament approves all 7 Supreme Court nominees amid strong objections from the minority caucus. We'll tell you why.
Now, details as the House debates the report for possible approval. We are live in Parliament for the very latest.
Also tonight, think before you post. The U.S. Embassy warns visa applicants about social media risk, saying it may impact approval. We have details as the warning sparks concerns about the boundaries of freedom of speech and expression.
And also, MPP flag bearer race gains momentum as a former Agric Minister Brian Champon seeks divine intervention and delegate mandates to contest for the position.
We have business and sports also coming your way here on Joy News Prime. Remember, we are your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. Please take a seat and be our guest.
Thank you so much for joining us here. Now, Parliament has approved all 7 Supreme Court nominees by President John Dramani Mahama. Despite strong objections from the minority caucus, the committee had resumed the vetting process after an indefinite postponement due to a petition against one of the nominees, Justice Kweku Tewia Akabuafo, which was deemed unfounded. The report has been laid on the floor with the minority raising objections as they insist their full position has not been captured. We'll hear from the short labor first. Listen to Chairman of the committee, Bernard Ahiafo, presenting that report a while ago.
The committee, acting in accordance with the provisions of Article 1442 of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana and Standing Order 217 of the House, duly examined the 7 nominees submitted by His Excellency the President for appointment to the Supreme Court of Ghana. Upon careful deliberations, the committee notes that all the nominees demonstrated outstanding competence, deep knowledge of the law, and a firm grasp of the judicial ethics. They addressed questions posed by the committee with professionalism, clarity, and intellectual rigor, reflecting their capacity to uphold the independence, integrity, and dignity of the highest court of the land, the Supreme Court for that matter. The committee is satisfied that the nominees possesses the requisite qualifications, judicial temperament, and commitment to constitutional values expected of justices of the Supreme Court. Mr. Speaker, all members of the New Patriotic Party minority were opposed to and voted against all the 7 nominees, the justices of the Supreme Court, on the grounds that, 1, the appointment of 7 new justices was inconsistent with the suspension of the Chief Justice, stating that it was not about filling vacancies, but reshaping the constitutional order.
Now, before the lay-in, there were some fierce objection from the minority leader. But my colleague, James Aveji, who has been there all day, joins us live. James, what really was the minority position on this matter?
Carlos, the minority leader Alexander Penyo Markin, when the speaker called for the laying of the report, rose to his feet and indicated that the report, as it was going to be laid, did not capture the full position of the minority. and that they have raised some critical issues that needed to be included into the report, and so was asking the Speaker to allow them refer the report back to the appointment committee to do the needful before it is brought back to the House for laying.
This is a matter that we should come to the floor for cameras to witness. We breaking shoulders over this matter. We don't need to. We don't need to. Mr. Speaker, the clerk was still engaging me. I am therefore at a loss how and why the chairman could transmit a signed report to the leader of government business as if we are trying to frustrate the process. Mr. Speaker, far from that. Our job is not to frustrate or obstruct. Our job is to speak and make our position known. That is democracy. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to entreat my colleagues, however huge their majority strength may be. This is a House of Parliament. We have an outstanding matter. I have seen movement on the floor. I pray that we would go by it so that we bring this thing to a closure. If we are done, it is not any difficult matter. They can lay their report. Once we are done, then we proceed. We have our views. You have your views. But Mr. Speaker, I will plead with you that kindly direct a further dialogue for us to close this matter. That's all, Mr. Speaker, I would want to submit.
Well, James, what was the chairman's response then?
The chairman then told Parliament, especially the Speaker, that the position of the minority is not entirely true, and that he had earlier received a communication handwritten by the minority leader to him on some reservations which he termed as preliminary comment on the report, which he insisted should be included, and he accommodated that and included it, only for him to submit another memo this morning insisting that it's been included into which he decided not to accept, indulge and include in this report.
Contrary to all the reports that I have read in this House, appointment report that I've read in this House, he is of the view that a preliminary comment to be indicated in the report. And if you look at the report, paragraph 4.0, it has captured the preliminary comment verbatim. Then he again indicated that from the preliminary comment, the clerk should indicate justification for the decision, stating that all minority members are opposed and voted against the nomination of the 7 judges. And Mr. Speaker, if you look at page 137 of the report, same had been done based on the meeting that we had this afternoon. Mr. Speaker, the recording from the meeting will indicate that, subject to what he wants to be captured, we have voted on the reports. The audio will bear me out. And everybody said, yes. Then
Well, James, now that the report has been approved, what is next?
Carlos, that is the latest on from the floor now. All 7 justices, Justice Senyo Jamepe, Justice Sir Dennis Dominic J, Justice Bia Simon Subari, as well as Justice Philip Bright Mensah, Justice Janapari Ajwa Battles Kojo, and Justice Hafisata Amaliboba, as well as Justice Kwekutewia Akabuafo, whose vetting had earlier been truncated briefly by that petition. All 7 of them have been approved by the House with a voice vote, and thankfully I have here the ranking member on the Constitutional and Legal Committee, Honorable Kwame Anyimadu, who also rose to object the approval process, joining us for some reaction. Honorable, thanks for your time. You, the minority, have had your say, but the majority have had their way. The 7 judges have been approved. What's your reaction? Any remedy again?
Right. I did not rise to oppose the process. I rose to second the motion for the approval of the justices. That is the substantive one. 2 things went on. One,
but with which you used to register your...
we had our reservations, our minority, so as minority group, and I had to put it across. First, on the substantive, we had always, during the 8 years when President Akufo-Addo was the president, we had always had 14 justices of the Supreme Court. When some of them had retired, President Akufo-Addo would nominate, and the number, President Akufo-Addo met it at 14 and left at 14. Now we have, even if with the suspension of the Supreme Court, the Superior
the Chief
Justice, we have 12 justices of the Supreme Court. Now bringing 7 at a time is making it 19. This is what we are saying. We have never set this precedent in the country. Even though we don't legally have the ceiling of how many judges could be appointed, by guidance, the presidents have been very careful not to exceed this number. So to say that we are bringing 7 at a time to add up, if Justice Tokono is added, we would have 20.
Which you are opposing to, but you are the makers of the law. Would you, amend that portion of the law to bring a ceiling to it?
We haven't. That is not the position of the law. You see, the Constitution is guided by conventions. There are a lot of things. That is what I said. There's a lacuna. We have not given the ceiling at the top, but the various presidents have not exceeded the number 14 that I'm talking about. And now we are going to, without prompting, we are going to 1920.
The conventions would always be at the liberty of discretion of whoever is in power. Why don't you just push for a ceiling? Then this problem is resolved.
Yes, I think that now we have the Constitutional Review Committee. It's an opportunity for the constitutionals. Otherwise, we don't have to leave it. We leave it. This party comes in and then says that, well, we have to raise it up. In the event that the MPP is coming to power, we may want to go beyond the 20 if you have to shoot it to 20. And that is not right. That was the point we are making.
So you want the Constitutional Review Committee to take this up and find a solution to it?
Yes. Okay. But I think that when I got up, I said that I was reluctant in seconding the motion. And now we had our reservations as a party. We have a problem if you have to remove 1 Supreme Court judge who is the Chief Justice, and now you come out with 7. We don't have anything in principle against the judges. And I also said in addition that justices like Sir Dominic Ajay, I was in the same chambers with him. And when I passed out in 95, I studied under his feet.
People like that, their competence and what they bring to
his competence. Okay. I went to the
Honorable, would have to wrap up now and hand over to the studio.
The first,
I so much appreciate it. We'll have a lot of the discussions later. Right. Honorable Kwame Anyimadu we'll talk about that. As the ranking member on the Constitutional and Legal Committee, his position is clear. They don't oppose the 7 judges, but their principle is that the minority is deviating from what they have held earlier. So, Carlos, that's the latest. Now, all 7 judges of President Mahama have been approved. What is left is for the president to swear them in, and then they will assume the bench at the Apex Court.
Right. Thank you so much for those updates.
While still in Parliament, the minority has demanded an immediate reinstatement of all workers of the Bank of Ghana, whose appointments have been terminated. The central bank, in a press statement, announced the decision not to confirm the appointments of majority of the individuals in the sector, close to 100 of staffs. Now, this is after the expiration date of their 6-month mandatory probation period. Addressing journalists in Parliament, the Member of Parliament for Sablugu, Hajia Fatahiya Abdulaziz, described the move as unjust and a violation of labour laws.
We are here this afternoon as a caucus to strongly condemn the recent mass termination of over 100 employees of the Bank of Ghana. These dismissals carried out without just cause, consultation, or due process represent a clear violation of our Constitution, labour laws, and basic decency. These workers lawfully carried, recruited, and properly vetted were contributing to national development, yet without warning, they were dismissed and merced. This action is inspired by a directive from the Chief of Staff in a letter dated 11 February 2025, which sought to revoke all public sector appointments made after 7 December 2024. It's wholly unconstitutional and unlawful. No such directive has legal authority.
Well, they're calling for an immediate reinstatement as they charge the aggrieved employees to seek redress in court.
We demand, one, immediate reinstatement. The Bank of Ghana must restore every single dismissed worker to their rightful position without any further delay. Their appointments were lawful, their terminations were not. 2, accountability from the governor. The governor of the Bank of Ghana must face Parliament and explain this heartless abuse of power. You are not above the law, and you will answer to the people. 3, action from labor authorities. We call on the Chief Labor Officer, the National Labor Commission, and the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, Shraj.
Away from Parliament, be warned, your next visa, U.S. visa could be denied because of what you post online. The U.S. Embassy says social media screening is now part of routine visa checks. The move follows revised guidelines introduced under the Trump administration, particularly targeting student visa applicants to address concerns around application fraud, the use of visa fixers, and transparency in the screening process. Now, speaking on Joy News' Super Morning Show today, Consular Officer at the U.S. Embassy in Ghana, Mr. Elliot Fatik, explained that the policy is designed to ensure applicants repeat or respect U.S. laws and adhere to visa conditions once granted entry.
Enhanced vetting of the social media and online presence of all student visa applicants. And that's why we are telling student visa applicants that they must set their social media profiles to public.
I mean, I'm just curious, why do you want to scan their social media handles? Why do you want to know what they've been posting on social media?
Whenever we consider a person's eligibility for a visa, we look at the entire picture. We look at what they present to us, but we also look online. And sometimes there's information there that is important for our decision. And that is this change, this process is simply a way of enhancing our ability to see whether or not an applicant qualifies for the visa and whether to make sure that there is nothing in their background that would prohibit them from entering the United States.
Well, data from 2024 indicates a nearly 60% success rate, with over $6.6 million in fees from unsuccessful visa applicants. While the data on specific denial rates for all visa types are not available, the B1/B2, i.e. the tourist/business visas, as well as the F1 or student visas, are the categories known to have high denial rates. Mr. Fatigue cautioned Ghanaians seeking to travel to the U.S. to refrain from using so-called visa agents or consultants, warning that such practices often lead to unsuccessful applications and misinformation.
Is something that you can do by yourself. It is outlined how to do it on our website, and there are also on the website phone numbers and email addresses that you can use if you run into difficulties. But what I would say in particular to look out for is visa fixers or visa brokers who claim that they have some sort of influence over the process, and they demand thousands of dollars, and they say they can guarantee you the visa where they know someone on the inside. Let me be clear. They are lying. They are ripping you off. And I cannot tell you how many sad stories we hear of people coming to us saying, I paid thousands of dollars and I didn't end up getting the visa. Or, I mean, there's even people who claim that you can just mail in your passport and get a visa without even having an interview. Without going through the visa interview waiver process. So, if you have a question about the legitimacy of a process, it's probably not legitimate.
Well, we have Ras Mubarak. He's a former member of parliament for Kumbugu, and he joins us on the phone. We know the U.S. has their own laws and are entitled, of course, to who they allow into their own country. But is this new policy a violation of freedom of speech and expression in any way?
For every country reserves the right to determine who enters their country and who does not. If you look at the existing legislation in the U.S., including executive orders, this particular move is strongly backed in law in the United States of America. And it's not the first time. I remember 5 years ago when I was renewing my B1, B2 visa together with my family. Within a week, the applications of my daughter and spouse then were approved. And then they had to ask me for my social media handles, some 5 years ago, even though I was a sitting member of parliament, But so it is not new. What is new is the fact that, now they are making it mandatory. If you look at the Constitution of our Republic, because this is happening in Ghana, and even though it is not akin to Ghanaian visa applicants, our Constitution, protects the rights of every Ghanaian, to privacy, to, free expressions, as enshrined in Article 18 of the 1992 Constitution. And the Data Protection Act of our country, also protects the, data of Ghanaians up and down the country. Now, this U.S. visa social media policy clearly threatens, privacy. It also threatens the aspirations of Ghanaian students and other visa applicants. And there are major concerns. I mean, if you take the Data Protection Act, for instance, if you look at Section 20, I think, it raises serious concerns. Now, to require that somebody must make their profile public, clearly under duress or under threat of visa denial, simply, undermines freely given information or consent. If you look at Section 21 of the Data Protection Act, which is on data minimization, you see what this new directives does is that, the scope is very broad. Scope of reviewing an applicant's entire online footprint or presence, for some vague criteria like hostility towards the U.S., as far as I'm concerned, is quite excessive and disproportionate.
Right.
And then again, you look at Section 37 of the Data Protection Act and so on and so forth. So the process lacks transparency, clearly, and it undermines, Article 18 of our Constitution, which guarantees free expression.
Right.
You know that in the U.S., the First Amendment is also big on freedom of expression.
Okay.
So to want to criminalize or to want to punish people for expressing themselves online or being critical of the United States of America government, it's quite unfortunate.
Okay. All right. Thank you. We may have to leave it here. But we also have a doctoral researcher in international affairs and past fellow of the Macmillan Center for International and Area Studies at Yale University, Nanaya Mreko, on the phone. Nanaya, what do you also make of this new policy implementation by the U.S. Embassy in Ghana?
I think for me, I wouldn't want to see it as a new policy because this has been in place for quite some time now. The honorable former MP said 5 years ago, this was a policy that was, being implemented in 2019, except that it's been intensified and this made a specific requirement that if you're seeking to apply for a J or M or F, visa, you have to make your social media accounts public. I think that is just US's politics, blowing out in student visa application. We have to understand that US is not in normal times, especially with the presidency of Donald Trump. And so I understand that there are data breach implications for Ghana's constitution. But then again, this is United States saying that if you want to study in their country, this is the policy. And we must remember that it is coming against 4 weeks freeze on student visa interviews, and is a blowback from what is happening between the State Department and Harvard University. That is, reverberating across student visa application across the globe. I do not see it. I understand that there are concerns, as the Honorable MP is saying, but I also see it as something that is normal for the Trump administration. So what it means is that if you really are bent on studying in the U.S., you just have to submit yourself to, their published scrutiny, to enter that country.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Mreko, for speaking to us.
But before you hit submit on the U.S. visa application portal, here's what you need to know. My colleague Noella Karinyale has more in this explainer.
So a few days ago, the U.S. Embassy here in Ghana, in a communique via their social media pages and website, announced that effective immediately, all individuals looking at traveling to the U.S. under their F, M, or J non-immigrant visas. These are visas they issue out to individuals looking at traveling to the U.S. for educational, training, or cultural exchange purposes, to adjust your social media profiles from private to public. And it's to help them facilitate your vetting process of you. And this, they say, is also to ensure that people that travel into the U.S. do not pose as a threat to the country. However, since the announcement, this particular announcement has, sparked a wave of reactions from the general public. Critics criticizing that this may be a backdoor way of curtailing or suppressing free speech, something the American people, or America as a country, has long championed. And so we want to gauge the reactions of students, specifically people looking at one day traveling into the U.S., get what they make of this announcement by the U.S. Embassy.
In one way or the other, it is breaching people's privacy. But in another way, it is for the better. We know people portray different lives on social media and then in real life. So it is something that is good, even though it is breaching people's privacy.
What they think is right for them is what they express. So if they think they want to know your social media handles before they will allow you or they will not allow you, to my opinion, it's their right. But social handle like Facebook talks about what is on your mind. That wouldn't stop me from sharing what is on my mind. So whatever they take it for it's up to them.
My own social medias are private because I have my own reason. Doesn't mean I'm a threat or I'm a terrorist going to other nations.
And as the U.S. continues to refine its immigration policy, many students will be watching closely, weighing their options of pursuing education in their country against the digital scrutiny they may or they are to come under. Only time will tell how this plays out.
Well, you're still watching Joy News Prime with me, Carlos Kaloni, and of course,
Faustina Safa will be back after this quick 10.
welcome back and thank you so much for staying with us.
To other stories now, in a dramatic turn of events, the former Agriculture Minister Brian Champong has officially thrown his hat into the ring, declaring his candidacy for the New Patriotic Party's flag bearership position. Seeking divine guidance, Brian Champong visited the Presbyterian Church, praying for wisdom and favor as he embarks on this ambitious journey to lead the party into the 2028 elections. Well, this move comes barely 24 hours after former Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia rallied over 200 former MMDCs in a major push for the same flag bearership slot.
A decision has been made that I will contest when the party opens nominations, but to do that as a product of the church, it will be a disappointment per my tradition for the moderator of the church or the Presbyterian General Council hears it for the first time on radio. So before a formal announcement is made, I thought it was wise to come and inform the General Council and the moderator of the Presbyterian Church that this is what I have set out to do. And so when they hear the announcement, then that is it. But most importantly, though, to seek the blessing, I want to start with God and then finish with God. The journey, I'm a politician. We know how treacherous the political journey can be, and God is a requirement for a journey like this and a requirement for life. And therefore, I needed to see the church and seek their blessing and prayer and continuous prayer whilst I start and embark on this journey.
Well, Brian Champong said his exploratory committee, which he set up weeks ago to deliberate on whether or not he should contest, found that the NPP needs a fresh face to lead the party. He added that he believes he is the new face that should be elected to wrestle power from the governing NDC.
A month ago, I set up an exploratory committee. A week ago, they brought me their report. We've reviewed the report. Largely aligns with what I set out to do. There were a few things that I also have to align with the party and then with the aspirations of the country. But that said, the important point is that the conclusion of the report suggested that there was a need to have a different candidate that can galvanize the party, unite the party for victory. There was also a need for that candidate to be able to demonstrate and give a hope to the young people of this country that through their vision, they're able to create jobs for the youth of the country, provide security, and revamp the infrastructure of this country. And so, with that said.
Meanwhile, political scientist at the University of Ghana, Dr. Kwame Asante, says the next leader of the party must be marketable, knowledgeable, a unifier, and capable of turning around the party's fortunes after its massive defeat in the 2024 elections.
It doesn't matter whether somebody visits a church, MPs visit cliques that support him or not. What matters is that the person that they are rooting for is knowledgeable, related to the problems that we have in this country, that has what it to be able to address them if the mantle falls on him or her. 2, is the person marketable? Can he or she stand toe to toe with any person from any political quarters to contest for election and win for his party? Of course, this also dovetails into the popularity of that individual. Is the individual popular to have a lot of following who will sway the vote in one direction for him? And of course, we also want somebody who is experienced, who will lead the party, and he has the magic one to turn things around based on his wealth of experience. And above all, the person must have record, not necessarily in government, where you have worked privately or where you have engaged yourself outside the political realm.
Well, away from that to other stories now. He's been turned away from school because their buildings were not built for students like him. The one school that finally accepted him also makes him climb 3 floors every day just to reach his classroom. That's the daily struggle of David Abochi, a student with a lower limb disability who will not let stairs or pain stop him from chasing his dreams. Irene Adubia-Enin has more in our Disabled series.
Every morning in school begins with a test of endurance for David Abochi. Not in the classroom, but on the concrete staircase that leads to it. With no ramp or elevator, he grips the rails and hauls himself, step by step, up 3 floors to reach his classroom. The climb takes time, causes pain, and demands grit that most of his classmates may never fully understand.
So I've been climbing the staircase for 2.5 years now. Climbing this staircase was a little bit challenging in terms of when I had to climb down up, I mostly fell and I had bruises, and even sometimes in the boarding house I struggled to get on time, like be on time.
David lives with a lower limb disability, and for the past 2.5 years, this has been his daily routine at the Youngsters Senior High School. There's no other way up, just a system that expects everyone to walk without help.
Unfortunately, this floor alone is SHS. Below us, we have the boarding house. So this is the only floor we have classrooms, and so he has to come up here.
Born with a physical disability, David has had to fight for access to education. Several schools turned him away, citing inadequate infrastructure or logistical concerns. Eventually, the youngsters agreed to enroll him, but even here, he climbs alone.
This building obviously is not disability friendly because it wasn't built with that in mind, and that's a problem we are facing generally in Ghana.
Support for David also comes from his close friend Abubakar Yakubu, who often helps him manage the steep stairs, walk across uneven paths, and carry his belongings when needed.
I have a brother, a younger brother, who is after me, just like him, but thanks to God, David's own is better. My brother's own, he doesn't walk, he doesn't talk, he's just lying at home. So I know how it feels to take care of someone like David.
Every day, the stairs remind David of a country that has not yet adapted to its most vulnerable, a country that asks him to adjust to its infrastructure instead of designing spaces that accommodates his needs. Until that change comes, David will continue to face barriers, not just in his school, but in accessing his fundamental right to education.
Well, it's time for Showbiz, and Becky Bex is in the studio.
Always glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me, Fosti, every time. This evening, let's talk about PANA first, because this year's Pan-African Historical Theatre Festival and Emancipation Day celebration was officially launched at the Accra Tourist Information Center on Monday, June 23, 2025. The event organized by the Ghana Tourism Authority is set to run from the 17th July to 2nd August 2025, culminating with Emancipation Day events in Asin Manso and Cape Coast.
The conversation has to go with the children. They must understand that it is a part of them. It's like somebody has taken your one arm away or taken one leg away. That's what we're talking about.
I participated in emancipation in the Trinidad and Tobago for 6 years continuous. And the understanding that they have, I don't find that connection here. How did they get to that point that we are not at? You should see the reverential nights they do. They pour libation, and they like the Nigerian Ogun libation pouring. But try that here. It's paganism. It's still considered heathenism.
Now, the Chief Executive, Mami Efua Hojeto, Ghana Tourism Authority, described the occasion as a statement on culture, reinstitution, unity, and healing through artistic expression, reaffirming Ghana's role as the gateway to Africa.
The Ghana Tourism Authority, in partnership with Partner First Foundation, the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture, and several international collaborators, remains dedicated to providing platforms where these voices can be heard, nurtured, and celebrated.
So we're looking forward to this particular event, Fosti. But let me tell you about Praise Reloaded. This is by Joe Metal. It's happening just this Sunday. You're cordially invited. It was on Joy FM this afternoon. Yeah, you are invited.
Okay,
it's actually a free event.
Okay.
So you're invited. You'll be seated close to, you know, the big guys in the industry. So you're invited. So he was on Joy FM this afternoon telling us all about what to expect come Sunday.
It's a reflective year for us, and every year God gives us a theme that we run with, and this year was gratitude, which you know, it's important in the life of a believer. It's important in anybody's life, because I think that if you're not a grateful person, I don't know what you're doing on this earth, because everyone needs somebody. But in this case, we are grateful for God's goodness, God's kindness, God's faithfulness. We can keep going on and on. His protection, His provision, His love, His mercy, His salvation. And so we're gathering as a people to let God know, to show God how grateful we are for what He's been to us and who He is to us. And so it's a theme God gave us, and each year the reflective journey, you know, comes up, especially this year,
Right.
And for me, even as a person, it's a big year for me. I mean, I've seen God do many things, and so I'm not just gathering people to be grateful by myself. I'm coming with my heart of gratitude.
Yeah, because you talk about, you know, God being grateful to us and whatnot, but I'm quite curious about you personally. What are you most grateful for?
I'm grateful for life. If I start the rest, it will be. So I'm grateful for God's mercies. I'm grateful for God's provision. I'm grateful for God's protection. I'm grateful for many things. I mean, you don't need to talk about other people's issues or predicament to show how well God has dealt with you.
Yeah.
It's not necessary. But when I look at my own life and looking back, some of the things, I think there are testimonies I might have to share later. But for now, I can tell you that God has dealt well with me.
Wow.
Full package. It's going to be like a buffet of expressions to God, through our worship, through our praise, through our thanksgiving, through our celebration.
Great.
And so come, and please don't limit yourself. When you're coming, please make sure you feel easy. Because if you're going to wear like a corset and those will leave you.
Why are you talking about hair?
No, I'm just saying.
Don't do that.
No, she's not everywhere. But so come, wear your jeans, wear your sneakers. Last year, a lot of people came like wearing
high heels and
things.
So this year, the Charlie, feel free.
Yeah,
go there with any corset.
Even when I'm wearing jeans, I'll put on a corset. What is geometric talking? I'll wear my corset.
Please don't wear it.
It's my corset.
But I'm happy he's sharing what he's grateful for. I'm grateful for God's
I was going to ask you what you're grateful for.
God's provision. It marvels me all the time. Each time I feel like, hey, Charlie, the account is about to hit red. Uncle shows up.
Then something comes
up.
Wow.
Like big, unimaginable. Then my alert is just, Charlie.
You're going to give me money right after this. Thank you very much.
Yes, please.
We're also grateful for the platform, for the platform to be able to share, our dreams and, everything else that comes with Joy News and every other platform that we get. I think that we take it for granted. We take, so many things for granted, like the job that you have. Well, you keep complaining about the job, but it's still here. So, so the job, for life, obviously, those are some of the things that we also take for granted. We take people for granted. We're grateful to God for the people that He's put around us, just to, they're telling you that it's almost time.
No, it's not time, but you have something on Brad Pitt that I can't wait to hear.
Yeah, Brad Pitt ending the news for us this evening. Thank you so much for having me, Fosdy. I'm not going back to what I'm grateful for. Y'all